Tomorrow, President Biden set to host the Japanese Prime Minister for an official visit to the White House, the first such visit by a Japanese Prime Minister in nearly 10 years. For some insights on what we might expect from this significant diplomatic summit, I want to bring in Rahm Emanuel, the U.S. Ambassador to Japan. It's nice to see you. It's been too long. Good to see you.
Nice to see
help
you.
us understand what you think are the most significant issues between these two countries right now.
Well, first of all, this state visit comes at a historic moment. If the last 60 years were defined by alliance protection, the next 60 are going to be defined by alliance projection. Japan has done a series of major changes in their defense posture, acquiring counterstrike, increasing their budget from 1% to 2%, becoming the third largest military, taking off the cap on defense technology exports, normalizing relationships with South Korea. We're now also making a series of fundamental changes from a hub-and-spoke system with bilateral relationships with multiple countries in the region to a lattice-like system architecture, strategic architecture. We're bringing coalitions of countries together, like you just saw the other day, Australia, Japan, United States, and Philippines doing a naval exercise. At the end of this visit on Thursday, you're going to have a major, significant, first time ever, the leaders of the United States, Japan, and the Philippines coming together for a historic trilateral relationship. That combination of changes in both countries will lead to a series of actions that will change the kind of cooperation on the level of deterrence, both diplomatically, development-wise, as well as on the defense side. On the defense side, they've made Japan have a new command control center, a joint center. We're going to fundamentally change the way we have a posture there so we can do a better coordination with Japan and make the most of the efforts of bringing deterrence to the theater. The second area, now that Japan is willing to do defense technology exports, is we're going to have an military-industrial council to look 180 degrees what we can co-license and co-produce together, because one of the big challenges we have is our military-industrial base is stretched thin, and Japan's has never been on the field. That's going to be an additional benefit, so we can fulfill that effort. And then major, also in the area of AI research, as well as in science and cooperation between NASA and JAXA. Japan's a major science spatial partner for us in the exploration of the lunar area.
Let me ask you this, though. Janet Yellen just spent time in China, and we have talked about having this sort of, I don't know, frenemy relationship with China, where we say we want to be friends in some ways, and we say we want to be enemies in others. This is a huge impact on Japan, to be honest. And the question is whether these mixed messages, whether you can be both. Whether you really can be a frenemy.
No, here's what I think is fundamental, is that the United States will say, look, you want to have a strategic competition, we're fine. But if you're going to continue to adopt the relationship of being a strategic adversary, these are going to be the consequences, and these are the steps we're going to be taking. I think that's exactly how you should approach it. China basically has spent a decade of intellectual property theft, economic espionage. I mean, take the look of semiconductors. ASML is obviously is a Dutch company. There's Tokyo Electron and Canon, which are Japanese companies. They compete and innovate, and they compete against each other. China was just seen stealing trade secrets from ASML. Tokyo Electron doesn't do that. Canon doesn't do that. So either we're going to be strategic competitors or strategic adversaries. Google just discovered in the AI space that China was stealing trade secrets. You can't have an economic competition where stealing and cheating are the norm and accepted.
You either disagree with you, Ambassador, but then the question is, if that is the case, then the answer isn't, I want to be your friend. The answer is, I can't be your friend at all.
No, the answer is exactly before this goes any further, is making a choice. That's why it was so weird to have U.S. business leaders in China applauding the leadership of the PRC, having all had their, I can't tell you as chief of staff how many one of those individuals were in the office talking about trade secrets being stolen or being forced to hand over all the family jewels so they can get access to the market. And then yet China's discovered, and by our own FBI and intelligence agencies, actually spreading misinformation in the United States.
You're making the argument against doing business with China.
I'm making the argument that you're very clear with China. And that the fact is, if you're going to continue down this road, here are going to be the consequences. That's what you do before you take that next step.
But aren't we down?
And then the second big, I'll take that. Number two.
I agree with you as 100%, but let me just ask. I mean, what does that mean for American businesses? Because it's really, American businesses can't go and do that. A CEO can't show up and say, you're going to change the way you do business. The administration has to do that.
That's right. And the United States has to be clear with the U.S. businesses. We understand that's a market. They want our capital. Now, here's the strategic import. There are 3 Chinas, not one. There's a China that's at the core between the PRC and the Chinese people that want calm, and it's rattling really hard because they have capital fleeing and they have people fleeing. Number 2 is what's in the region, what I call the conflict. They're in conflict with India. They're in conflict with the Philippines. They're in conflict with Japan. And then there's the outer ring where they just want to say to the rest of the world, it's a win-win, and the charm China. The 3 C's, charm, conflict, and calm. And there's a tension in each one of those. And in China, the basic point is their economy, for a series of bad decisions they made in years past and even currently, is on the back heel. That back heel is one of the greatest pieces of deterrence. And to the American business, here's a China that remember this, and I would say this to every leader in the United States, your research and development is subsidized by the United States taxpayers. It's not just yours. We give you a tax cut so you could do that. You cannot allow economic espionage to go just because you want access to a market. You're part of an economic strategy, and I would say to the United States, I would say to be very clear also to the Chinese leaders. You want you want international capital. You want actual business leaders investing and growing your economy. You cannot cheat and steal the way you did for the last 10 and 20 years to leadership.
Ambassador Emanuel, that makes sense, but you're dealing with a lot of different United States, too. I can think of at least 4 or 5 different United States. One is we want trade. A second is we want cheap imports, things that are cheap for consumers. A third is we want to make sure that we have peace and safety. A fourth is we want to make sure Taiwan is free. How do we take all of those things and kind of add them up? What should be the driving goal in everything we talk to? Because we talk to so many people on the show who say, yeah, we just need to talk to the Chinese and make it easier. The other is we need to ban TikTok. What's the U.S.
Here's my view is. My view is creating, one is redefine what deterrence is. On this show, as well as other shows, and in the United States, just public debate, we think of deterrence is what the Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier brings. I would tell you when the president brought the leaders of Japan and Korea together at Camp David in August, a historic trilateral meeting, that's deterrence. When the United States economy is growing at a pace and China is shrinking, not growing at the pace it used to, and the spread between the United States and China is growing, that's deterrence. When, in fact, there's capital fleeing and Chinese middle-class families and others are fleeing, that's deterrence. And having a more global approach and saying there's a cost to the choices you're making. Now, you took hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, but you didn't do it. The international system you were a part of allowed you to do it. Now, if you want to turn your back on it and you think raw exercise of power and intellectual property theft and economic espionage is the way you're going to go, we're not participating in it. And that's exactly clear, not just the United States. Brazil, a member of BRICS, just told China, I'm taking you to the WTO. Thailand did that. EU did that. The world is organized. So the principal strategy with China, their entire strategy, their most persistent and pernicious economic strategy is coercion to achieve political ends. Their goal is to isolate Japan, isolate an Australia, isolate the Philippines. Right. No. We're all coming together. You're going to be the isolated party. Now, either you participate in a system that helped you raise poverty, and rather eliminate poverty in your country, bring people into the middle class, or you're going to return, which is what you're doing to your youth, with a 30% unemployment. You have a choice to make, and we're ready to work with you and have you be part of a system that helped you grow economically, or you can turn your back on it. Right. But when you do that, you're the isolated party, and there's cost and consequences which result in a lost generation of Chinese youth. You make the choice.